I was brought up without a TV, and my parents were like massively into music. My dad was a big classical music head, and I learnt to read music at the same time as I learnt to read letters. So I started the recorder when I was 3 and the piano when I was 4. And from that age on, you know, I was doing 10 minutes of scales on the piano every morning and, you know, feeling a bit deprived that my friends didn't have to do that and they got to watch TV. so over the years when I was a kid, you know, I was playing a lot of music, started the cello a couple of years later. And, you know, it's something that I really appreciate now, but at the time I remember, you know, I'd go to school and people would be talking about EastEnders and I wouldn't know what they were talking about and I'd just feel really deprived. But that all kind of changed because I was going to probably have ended up as a professional cellist, and then I kind of discovered Bob Marley and became pretty obsessed with his songs, and then ended up getting a guitar much later on and taught myself to play his songs, and then from that started writing. So it was a kind of bit of an unusual journey to being a singer-songwriter, because I started recording years and years after I ever started writing. I had all these, like, you know, over 100 songs that I'd written that I really wanted to put down on record, and albums come out really slowly. You know, you can't just sort of do one and then do another one 6 months later. You have to sort of wait, you know, be very patient and, you know, wait for them to come out. So by the time we got to doing Believe 'Em, this was my 3rd album, that was, I think it was about 4 or 5 years after my first album, and there were just songs on there that I'd really wanted to record and get out there. Because I've done a lot of touring as a support act with some quite major, you know, major acts, and it's very different. You know, you sort of walk out on stage in a big concert hall, and people are sitting there and they're there to see Don McLean or, you know, whoever, and there's sort of very low expectations of what you're going to present to them, and that's great in a way, you know, because you start singing, and by the end of your set, you know, people are sort of either thinking, oh, they're all right, you know, I might buy a CD in the interval, or they're just looking forward to the main act, so you can get away with quite a lot. Whereas, you know, touring on your own, you really see, you know, people, real music fans who come through the snow and the rain to come and see you play, and, you know, have got all your albums, and, you know, that's just a real buzz in itself as well. I've just published a book which is basically about my experiences of having bipolar disorder, because that's not something I'd ever talked about before, and I've done a lot of press and radio interviews, and I just, you know, actually when I told my manager about it, the first thing he said, I think, I'll just keep quiet about that for the time being. And then, I don't know, I just thought, I don't want to add to the stigma of mental illness by not talking about my own. You know, I mean, they say something like on average 1 in 4 people will have some kind of, you know, depressive episode or some kind of, you know, mental health problem in any 1 year, and that's like a huge number of people. And I thought, you know, I'd rather maybe put across a kind of more positive side to bipolar disorder, because to me it's like it's a blessing as well as a curse. You know, I wouldn't write songs the way that I do if I didn't have it. And, you know, really almost to the extent if somebody said, you know, I could flick a switch and you wouldn't have that anymore, I would really hesitate.
Let's start with a new album.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you were trying to achieve with that? What your inspiration was behind the album?
No. Let's try another one.